What's up, you guys? This is Haley here from Should You Buy It, and today I'm going to share with you the tips and tricks that I used to save the most money on my wedding. So Ethan and I had about a year, just a tiny bit over a year, like a year and a week, to get our wedding completely together and have it done and everything. So I'm going to share with you guys the tips and tricks that we used to save the most amount of money on our wedding. One thing that you want to do is you want to shop around for your venue. I did not have to do this. Ethan had already done that. He had picked a venue and their prices were somewhat reasonable, and it got weird. So anything with your venue, if you find a venue, you think the price is great, get everything in writing, because it will come back to bite you in the butt. That's what happened with us. With our venue, we agreed, or Ethan agreed verbally, that our wedding was going to be on a Saturday. We would have our rehearsal dinner on Thursday, and for the Thursday slot, which usually there's not a wedding, there's usually weddings on Fridays, that we would not have to pay for the rehearsal dinner. So it got about a month out, and we contacted them about this, and because the guy that we had done the verbal agreement with was no longer with the company, we kind of got screwed. So anything like that, get it in writing, get it into your contract. They said if we wanted to do the rehearsal, it was going to cost us $800. Well, we are already paying $2,000 or $2,500 for the venue, so we ended up having our rehearsal at a local restaurant, and it worked out pretty well. So that is one thing. Shop around, work with your venue. A lot of people have also been saying that if you have your wedding not on a Saturday, it can save you a ton of money. So some people like to have it on a Wednesday, a late Wednesday if it's going to be just kind of a shorter wedding, or on a Friday, or not a Friday, or on a Sunday when everybody has Monday off for like the 4th of July or the day before a holiday. A lot of people like to do that, and it has actually saved them a lot of money because usually the venue is empty anyway, so it's kind of like student rush for weddings. There you go. A lot of people have also said they have rented a house for their wedding, which is kind of cool, or they've had it on their own land. I had a friend who had their wedding on their own land, so they didn't have to rent a house. They didn't have to rent a hotel. It's really windy outside. I'm sorry, you guys. But they didn't have to rent a hotel. They didn't have to rent, they just rented a big tent, and they had it underneath the tent. Then it was outside, and it was really cute, and it was really pretty. So that's what they did. And some people, if you don't have that option, because obviously for certain reasons, you can rent a house and do the exact same thing. You can rent it on Airbnb or some other way, but a lot of people have done that, and it's actually saved them quite a bit of money, and they usually have their honeymoon at that same house, so that is pretty fun. You can also do it in government buildings such as City Hall. You can do it at park, little like convenience center, like the little, you know how parks have like a building and you can usually rent out rooms. You could have it there. That's a good way to save money. Or just do it at the courthouse and then just have a party in your backyard. Ethan and I decided that's probably what we should have done. It would have saved us a ton of money. So that is another way. If you're not into the huge fancy wedding thing, do it at the courthouse with the judge and have it a party in your backyard. It would save you a ton of money. Cook some barbecue. Another way to save a ton of money is to DIY as much as possible. Yes, I cannot stress this enough. This saved us so much money. So one thing that we did make ourselves is our wedding invitations. We made over 150 wedding invitations. They would have originally cost us $5 a piece, would have ended up being $750. But we ended up making our invitations, and we ended up making them for $1.25 a piece. That included, actually, let's round up to $1.50. Included ink, included paper, did not include labor for cutting the paper because Ethan and I did that ourselves. But anyway, so it ended up being $1.50 a piece, and that saved us around $450-ish on wedding invitations. That was super, super nice. We saved a lot of money on those. That is another thing that you can do. Also, with our invitations, instead of sending out RSVPs that they would have to mail back, including a stamp, we had a thing in there that said they could RSVP online, so they would not have to mail it in. But some people did mail it in anyways, and that was their choice, and then they spent their own stamp. So that was another way we did save money. That saved us about $75 in stamps, just doing it that way, because instead of $1 to send out every invitation. It only up being 50 cents. So another one, making your flowers. It is possible. We made all of our flowers. They were not real flowers. They were fake. It's winter. Getting real flowers would have been extremely expensive. And the whole year we had up to this wedding, we were finding flowers on clearance, secondhand stuff we could take apart. That's why take your time on your wedding as well, because you'll find a lot of stuff on clearance. So we made all of our flowers. Of course, Ethan's mom, who has a knack for that, did a lot of it, and it helped out a lot, and they came out really, really pretty. Another thing we did also make are all of our centerpieces. Our theme was Disney, but our centerpieces were more traditional Disney, so there was no princesses. They were very like, guess what table this was, and my mom made all those centerpieces, and it took her about 9 months, and they came out really, really well. So that's another way to save a lot of money. Look for stuff at thrift stores, at Goodwill, at Red Racks, Facebook Marketplace. You can end up finding a lot of stuff and saving a ton of money on that. So DIY as much as possible, and it will save you a ton of money, especially if you go through and you get stuff at Goodwill. So $1 here, $1 there. It's not going to seem like as much money because you're spending it slowly instead of all at once. Another thing you can do is wedding cake alternative. So this is one thing Ethan and I did as well, is a wedding cake for 150 people was going to end up costing us over $600, which to me was crazy because I found a quote for $3 a slice, and I was like, okay, 450, and then the lady never got back to me, and she was like a legit person that I had a friend use, so I don't know what was up her butt, but the other people that I got quoted me $6 a slice, and I was like, holy shit, for a basic wedding cake. So we ended up doing just a little cake for Ethan and I, and then we ended up doing cupcakes, and so then everyone could get a cupcake. That also saved us on plates, and it also saved us on silverware as well. So that's another thing to do, would be a wedding cake alternative. Have a little cake for you, but maybe have something else for everybody else, such as cupcakes. So another thing you can do to save some money is to trade services with somebody else. So let's say, for example, I am a photographer, and let's say my best friend's a photographer, and she's getting married in a year, and I'm getting married now. I could be like, hey, if you shoot my wedding, I'll shoot yours, and we just call it even. That is one way to save a lot of money as well, because it doesn't really cost you personally let's say $1,500 to shoot her wedding, and it doesn't cost her $1,500 either. So you both are saving money by trading services. You can do this with anything. You could do this with the cake. You could do this with the flowers. You could do it with the centerpieces. With the venue, if you have connections with the venue, you could say, hey, I'll give you X, Y, and Z if you let us do X, Y, and Z, and that can help a lot as well. So that is another thing. Trade your services to save as much money as possible on pretty much anything for your wedding. Another one is look for your wedding dress early. I know it's hard, but the average wedding dress can take up to 6 months to get back. For me, it only took 6 weeks, but it can take up to 6 months. And if you want that perfect dress and you don't have to pay a rush fee, or you don't want to have to pay your tailor a rush fee as well, getting it early can help. What we did is I got engaged in February. We started looking for my dress in April. We found it in the end of April. We ordered it, and it said 6 months. We're like, cool. It'll be October. I got it in 6 weeks, and then I just kind of stuffed it in the back of my closet. And then we started getting alterations right before Christmas and after Christmas. So that ended up being really good. Doing something like that, you could also try to look into secondhand dresses. They are only worn once. You could also look into secondhand veils. You could borrow a dress. That's another thing with borrowing. I had a friend who something borrowed was her veil, and it was kind of cute because then she didn't have to buy a veil. So that is another way to save money as well. There's ways to save money in every single part of your wedding. Making your own food if you want to do that, or I have had family members say, my wedding gift to you is I will make all your food. And that was with my uncle and my other uncle, and they both agreed, and that was their wedding gift to them, was making their food for their wedding day. It was a very small wedding. So that was something. Having your wedding in a park can also save you a lot of money because you don't have to rent a park. Man, I would have saved us a ton of money. But so yeah, just thinking of creative ways to save money will help, because a wedding can be expensive. Another way to save money, which is actually kind of a way to save money in general on this channel, is to not get stuff that you don't need. For example, personalized napkins that you don't need, personalized cups that you don't need. Anything that you don't feel like you will need for your wedding, do not get, or don't get personalized because they're usually more expensive. And get stuff that if you have bulk of, you will use later. For example, like we had barbecue at our wedding and we got plastic forks. We will always use plastic forks. So even though we got 500 plastic forks, we will still use them in the future. So they will never go bad and they will never just like sit around and accumulate dust. Another one is to sell as much as you can after your wedding. If you do not want your wedding dress anymore, sell it to somebody else and then they can buy their wedding dress secondhand and they can do everything. Sell as much that you don't want because you don't need it anymore. Personally, and it will get you a little bit of money back. My last and final tip for this video is going to be when people offer to help you, take their help. You will think as a bride you can do it all yourself, and you will probably be able to do it all yourself until about 3 months before your wedding when all your invitations are due and you have made them and you have designed them, or you've paid somebody to design them. You can also pay someone to design them and make them and put them together yourself. And it just doesn't want to work, or you are just sleep deprived or whatever. Let people help you that offer to help you. That will save you a ton of stress. It will save your brain, because I did the same thing. My friend did the same thing, Casey, which she does have a vlogging channel. I will put it down below. We both did the same thing, and it was very detrimental. And just letting people help you when they can, do it. You could have a friend who bakes cakes, and maybe she's not a professional, but her cakes taste really good, and she'd be like, hey, I'll make your cake for your wedding. And you'd be like, okay, and she, So that is another big way, not even to just save money, but to save your psyche in the process, because that's when stuff starts to get no longer fun, and you just want to be married already, and yeah. So that's actually all I have for today. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave those down below. Also, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, join the savings army, and never pay retail again. I've got this new audio setup going on. I want to know if you guys like it, if it's any better, or if it's not, let me know down below. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!